Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas, everyone. Well, it's Christmas Eve. And before I head out, I like to read my favorite poem, The Night Before Christmas. And you know, it's my favorite because it's about me. 'Twas the night before Christmas. Santa was nowhere to be found. His ho-ho-ho was missing. Where's that ho-ho-ho sound? The elves were beside themselves. The sleigh had been loaded for days. They were accustomed to on time and not used to delays. What is happening, one asked. Where is Santa, they queried. The elves were exhausted. Their eyes were sagging and blearied. Their backs ached and discs bulged. Their knees were inflamed. Their fingers were gnarly. Their fingernails maimed. So it was no surprise they weren't happy. Their clothes were wrinkled and soiled. They were impatient and angry. Their lips pursed. Their blood boiled. It's been like this too long, they cried. We've been taken for granted. We get very little for our efforts. They raved, then they ranted. We work nonstop, 24 hours every day. What do we get for our efforts? Bad backs and low pay. Their anger grew in leaps and then grew in bounds. Their anger grew so intense, it made weird anger sounds. The good old days look better than ever before. Yes, bring those days back. Let's give Santa what for. Make the pole great again, became the cry all over the north. They gathered in great halls and bandied their anger back and then forth. They would make the pole great by throwing out all the elves who'd come from the South Pole or didn't look like themselves. Build a wall around the North Pole, block those elves' entry, send all their kids back. We don't need to be friendly. Their anger was palpable, and it grew more palpable still. The palpability grew until everyone had their palpability fill. Drive out those elves who came here without elf approval. We want them gone now. We demand their removal. Santa paced to and fro, then paced fro and to. He had no idea what the heck he should do. I've traveled the whole North, and it seems to me it's jobs that we need. Yes, jobs. Yes, siree. Santa knew it was jobs that would get the job done. Getting more jobs would be job number one. But the deeper he dug, his uncertainty grew. Bringing back old jobs wouldn't be easy to do. The wooden toy elves have had far less to do, and the Etch-a-Sketch elves reached July and they're through. The Barbie doll builders have tried to grow, but they've failed. The Lionel train makers have completely derailed. The elves want their jobs back. The whole thing is nutty. They're demanding we make Slinky and reopen Silly Putty. Paint by numbers, they cry. It fills me with dread. I can still hear those corn popper rollers popping nonstop in my head. The hula hoop elves, they wail, moan, and cry. The slip and slide elves bitch as they slide by. Easy bake ovens, we make a few now and then. The Super Bowl room, it's been closed since 2010. Santa asked Amazon Echo, Google Home, even Siri, what the heck should he do? They couldn't answer that query. All three were quiet, not a word and no answer. But he had one more confidant, the reindeer named Prancer. There's Dasher and Dancer and Vixen and Comet, and that suck-up Rudolph who makes the rest vomit. Cupid and Donner are helpful and wise. Blitzen, he fits in. He's one of the guys. Prancer's the wise one. His counsel often sought. Santa called him inside and asked just what he thought. Now there were some who thought Prancer had a right-wing agenda, that his counsel was tainted, that he'd recommend a complete shutdown of all toy lines that he didn't care for, and anyone who disagreed with him, there wasn't a prayer for. Prancer was very conservative. He had some odd views that were frequently published inside Breitbart News. Santa knew Prancer's views, but Santa was fairly pragmatic. He could sort through the dogma, sniff out a fanatic. When Prancer was finished, he returned to the sleigh. Santa knew right then what he'd do, and he'd do it that day. The elves heard a loud laugh, much louder than ho, ho, ho. The door burst from its hinges, and Santa said, all right, let's go. Wait, cried one elf. You promised us jobs. You promised a wall, that we'd get rid of those slobs. We're not nearly as strong. Our country is feebler since we let in those elves, the ones they call Keebler. Santa's brow was furrowed, his eyes deep and red. A crease or a vein popped alongside his head. His hands clenched the reins, his lips pursed, his nose flared. Now was the time to show that he cared. He roared in his roar voice way more than a shout. We're not building a wall. We're not throwing kids out. Our country would be weaker, our diversity feebler, if we didn't have the elves from the south and those elves from Keebler. I've listened to Prancer, but I have no reservation to put a stop to this now, this North Pole conflagration. We'll build more drone aircraft and more Bluetooth receivers, virtual reality cell phones. I'll make you believers. I've got a stunning idea. Sound the alarm. We're going to launch an electronic ant farm. Santa had one idea after another. He explained them with feeling, and the elves had to admit they were quite appealing. Then from the back of what looked like a riot came a soft, soft elf voice who asked for some quiet. Thank you, Santa, the voice said. Thank you for ideas and not bluster. Thank you for ways to fix our problems and not just one more filibuster. All the elves nodded, then turned round to the sleigh. Let's make this work, they cried. Let's start this working this day. Santa smiled with a smile they'd not seen before, then smiled even bigger and smiled even more. 3 cheers, the elves cried, hip, hip, hooray! If Santa were barbecue, he'd be Bobby Flay. He tugged on the reins and to his team gave a digital whistle, and away the sleigh flew like an ABM, $39.95 on Amazon, missile. Merry Christmas, he cried. Merry Christmas to you. Now start making batteries. We're going to need a lot before we're through. Merry Christmas, everyone.